It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, haters, addicts, and fanatics out there? This is Larry Patterson coming to you for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports, live here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. And today we're talking 32 teams in 32 days. Los Angeles Chargers edition, making our way through the AFC West now. This team started out 3-9 last year. And offense wasn't really an issue with this team. It was more about finishing games. They lost a few key pieces on defense. Their defense kind of, it was holding up. It was doing what it had to do. But the biggest problem was with this offense and how late in games they could never really get anything going consistently. Having big leads in the game and then allowing opponents to come back or coming back in games and just not executing the way they should. So they had a big problem with coming back. Anthony Lynn was their head coach. He'd been going through that thing for several years. That whole Chargers organization, even when Phillip Rivers there before Anthony Lynn got there, had an issue with like coming back in games, and then say they'll come back, but they can't never finish games. So that was the whole big issue with that. And hopefully this year, they can finish games up. So they started out 3-9. They won 4 straight to close out the year, 7-9. That was on a good note. No playoffs. They fired Anthony Lynn after he took the team to the playoffs, I want to say in 2018, when that secondary, I think Gus Bradley was his defensive coordinator in 2018. And they, I think their defense was ranked, I want to say they were ranked in the teens, but no, they were ranked in single digits. I think they were ranked top 10, and then they were only giving up 17 points a game. And that was pretty good. I think that was 2018. So that was pretty good. But then things did not go well as far as, whether it was coming back or whether they were in the lead, letting teams come back. For some reason, the Los Angeles Chargers could not close out games. That was a very big issue. And hopefully this year it's a little bit different. They hired defensive coordinator Brandon Staley as head coach. Defensively was a little bit of an issue. They had some injuries across the board last year. But I think if they were healthy, I think that this team probably could have been a playoff team, especially the way that they were heating up later on in the year, toward the end of the year. Starting with the key departures on this team, Hunter Henry, who had about 600 yards, stayed hurt pretty much most of his career. So the Chargers had an opportunity to re-sign him. They didn't want to do it. They felt there was no need. I mean, why sign a tight end back when you don't really know if he's going to be healthy? I mean, his production was no problem. It was just the ability, the availability. And the best ability is availability. And Hunter Henry was halfway available. But I can't say when he was in, he was very productive. No doubt about that. Kalen Ballage, who came in for a little bit. Tyrod Taylor, who had a lung issue. I think it was a punctured lung or something like that. No, he played the first game of the season. I think they won the game. And then the second game of the season, they were headed to play the Kansas City Chiefs. And just so happened, Justin Herbert's name was called. Tyrod Taylor couldn't go in. He didn't come back for the rest of the season. Very odd, very strange. But Tyrod Taylor is now in Houston, and he's a starting quarterback. And so hopefully some good things can happen to him out there. Nick Vigil, linebacker, Denzel Perriman, another linebacker, Rayshawn Jenkins in the back end, Isaac Rochelle, and Casey Hayward, a cornerback. Those were your key departures, as well as a little bit more, but those are your key guys. Key additions, you got Jared Cook, who is a nice, productive tight end no matter where he goes. seems like no matter where he goes, whether it's New Orleans, whether it's wherever, Green Bay, it just seems like Jared Cook is always producing somewhere, still playing at a high level at the age of 34. Corey Lindsey, who came over from Green Bay, Chase Daniels, a well-known backup in this career, backup in this league. Kyler Fackrell, who came over from New York. O'Day Abushi, who came over from Detroit for line help. Matt Filer, also coming over from Pittsburgh. So that's some of your key additions to this team. Offensively, this team in the past game was ranked sixth at gaining 4,329 yards. And in the run, they were ranked 18th, putting up 1,784 yards. So that's run game middle of the pack. Even though they had the injury to Austin Eckler, so you didn't have your star back in. And even when Austin Eckler was in there, it's like you're not really getting a big truckload of work out of him. You're more in the pass game, some in the run game, but they don't really have that heavy load back on their team. It's a bunch of guys who can run the rock and catch the ball. And I think that's what their offense specializes in, especially the running back position. On third downs, this team was ranked 9th. On fourth downs, this team was ranked 25th. In the red zone, this team was ranked 21st. That's all offense. Now, going into the quarterback situation, as I said, you got Justin Herbert going into year number 2. Now, it was a surprise to Justin Herbert that he was getting the call going into the Kansas City game after Tyrod Taylor was declared, a no-go. Herbert in that game did very well for himself for his first start and wasn't slated to start until later on in the year or so. They lost the game 23-20, but in that game, Justin Herbert was 22 of 33, throwing for 311 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and I believe could have won the game. So, and on the year for Mr. Herbert, he played 15 games. He started 15 games. He was 6-9 as for his record that year. 396 for 595, throwing for 4,336 yards, 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a completion percentage of a 66. That's pretty damn good. As far as my prediction for Justin Herbert, I think that the AFC West is kind of leading. They're kind of coming up in that quarterback wave. You got Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. You got Derek Carr, who's a vet, still doing this thing out there in LA. In Las Vegas now. And now you got an emerging young quarterback in Justin Herbert who can really skyrocket that ball. He can take off when he needs to. And then you got him in LA. And I really see Justin Herbert as a MVP candidate. If it's not this year, maybe in the years to come. But I would definitely say this year because this team is definitely primed for a playoff run, maybe a championship run. You just never know what's going to happen out of these second-year players, and I think this team right here is definitely primed for it, especially with some of the guys they got coming back, offensively and defensively. Chase Daniel, what better backup in the league you have? I know there's other backups like Jacoby Brissett, Nick Foles, other guys, but Chase Daniel going into his 13th year, one of those backup quarterbacks that he just does not get a lot of love. He doesn't get a lot of starts, but when he's in, he gives you a quality start. He might not win it, but he gives you a quality start. What better backup to have other than Chase Daniel coming straight out of Mizzou? Easton Stick going to his 3rd year, and that closes out your quarterback room. The running back room, you got Austin Eckler, who missed most of last year. He played 10 games in Fun fact about Austin Eckler, and that's what I was telling you about earlier about their running back room. Uh, Eckler can do it whether in the run game or whether in the pass game. That's one thing I like about him. Kind of reminds me of that small back, like that Darren Sproles type. In 2018, he played 14 games. He started three. He had 106 carries, 554 yards, three touchdowns. He was targeted 53 times, 39 catches, 404 yards, three touchdowns. In 2019, he played 16 games. He started eight, 132 carries, 557 yards, three touchdowns. He had 108 targets. That's where it boosted up a little bit. Well, a lot. 92 catches, 993 yards, and eight touchdowns. That very big year for him. And then last year was pretty much of a bummer because he only played 10 games. He had 116 carries, 530 yards, one touchdown. He had 65 targets last game, 54 catches, 403 yards, and two touchdowns in that little bit of time that he had. So I definitely, if hoping that he stays healthy this year, he can be in for a big year, especially with Herbert there and the rest of the guy in a retooled offensive line. I can really see Austin Eckler having a big year this year. Definitely one of my players to watch, man. Also in the running back room, you got Justin Jackson. 2018, he had in 2018 he had 50 carries, 206 yards, two touchdowns. 2019, he had 29 carries, 200 yards. In 2020, he had 59 carries, 270 yards. So, a nice, good quality backup. He also did it a little bit in the run game. 2018, he had 19 targets, 15 catches, 135 yards. Not much, but hey. And in 2019, he had 11 targets, 9 catches, 2 yards. That's the year he was hurt. He only played a handful of games. 2020, he had 24 targets, 19 catches, 173 yards. So that's somebody that can kind of fill the void in if Austin Eckler went down. But my guy that I like to watch he's a rookie. He was a rookie last year. Joshua Kelly, man, he played 14 games last year. He didn't start any. But in that 2020 season, he had 111 carries, 354 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was also targeted 23 times, 23 catches, 23 for 23, 148 yards. So that little number, that little 23 number right there, is a little sample size, but it lets you know, hey, at least he wasn't targeted 30 times and only had 23 catches. He was 23 for 23. So I definitely like Joshua Kelly also. Larry Roundtree, who's the other, who's a rookie, by the way, Larry Roundtree the third. And then you got Gabe Neighbors, who's going into year number 2 at the wide receiver spot. Keenan Allen, one of the more underrated wide receivers in this league, 4 1,000-yard seasons and 6 100-plus catch seasons. So another thing about Keenan Allen, I like Keenan Allen, 4-time Pro Bowler. In 2013, he bust on the scene. He played 15 games. He started 14. He had 105 targets. He came on the scene as a rookie, getting over 100 targets. 105 targets, 71 catches, 1,046 yards. That was in his rookie year. His second year, 14 games he played and started. 121 targets, 77 catches, 783 yards. 2015, he played 8 games. So he missed 8. And he had 89 targets, 67 catches, 725 yards. 2016, a little bit of a bummer because he only played 1 game. He was 7 targets, 6 catches, 63 yards. 2017, he kind of bounced back, though. And he did, especially with the numbers that he had. Played 16 games. He started 15, 159 targets, 102 catches, 1,393 yards. 2018, he played 16 games. He started 14, 136 targets, 96 catches, 1,196 yards. 2019, played 16, started 16, 149 targets, 104 catches for 1,199 yards. And then last year, he could have had 1,000 yards, but it was cut short. He played 14 games. He started 13, 147 targets for 100 catches, 992 yards. That tells you right there, he's a big prime target. He needs to stay healthy, and if he stays healthy, him, Justin Herbert just might have a big connection this year. Justin Herbert just might have a connection with all of his receivers this year, especially Mike Williams. Mike Williams, another one. In 2017, Mike Williams came on the scene. 10 games he played. He started one. 23 targets, 11 catches, 95 yards. That boosted up in 2018. 16 games he played, 5 games he started, 66 targets, 43 catches, 664 yards. He had 10 touchdowns that year. That was by far the most that he ever had. As far as yardage, though, 2019 was his season. He played 15 games. He started 15, 90 targets, 49 catches, 1,001 yards. 2 touchdowns. And then last year he played 15. He started 11. He had 85 targets, 48 catches, 756 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So Mike Evans is one of those guys that you can just throw it up. He go up and get it, make all these big acrobatic leaping catches. You're like, how did he do that? Definitely one of the more athletic receivers in this league. So that's another weapon that you got right there. Jalen Guyton, who came on the scene last year, he played 16 games. He started 9. He had 55 targets, 28 catches, 511 yards with 3 touchdowns. So that's pretty good numbers right there. Joshua Palmer, who's a rookie. And then you got KJ Hill going into year number 2, and he specialized in punt returns. Only 12 returns for 83 yards, but you know what? Year number 2, it could be better for him. At the tight end spot, Steven Anderson played 16 games last year. He started 3. He only had 11 targets, 8 catches, 106 yards. 2017 was his best season, which was with Houston, and he had 52 targets, 25 catches, 342 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. I do believe in that. Jared Cook, the 2-time Pro Bowler, one of the more prolific tight ends in this league. I love Jared Cook, because no matter where he goes, he just seems to like just bring a lot of production with him, and it's like he never slows down. But in 2018, Jared Cook he played 16 games. He started at 14. He had 101 targets, 68 catches, 896 yards, 6 touchdowns. In 2019, he played 14 games. He started 7, 65 targets, 43 catches, 703 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And then last year, what was he? He was with the Saints. He played 15 games. He started 5, 60 targets, 37 catches, 504 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So, and then this year he's going in as a starter. This offense is going to be really tough, especially with him in there. Other tight ends on that squad, you got Trey McKitty, who's a rookie, and you got Donald Parham Jr., who kind of showed some potential last year. He had 20 targets, 10 catches, 159 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Catch him down there in their red zone. So definitely a big shout out to Donald Parham. Offensive line, Corey Lindsey, 82 pass grade and 83 run grade according to PFF. Scott Quisenberry had a 65 pass grade and I want to say is a 64 run grade. O'Day Abushi, who played for Detroit, had a 65 pass grade and a 68 run grade. Filer, going to his 5th year, had a 71 pass grade and a 61 run block grade. Brendan James, who's a rookie, Brian Bulaga, had a 65 pass and a 53 run. Going to his 12th year, Storm Norton, 63 pass grade, 61 run grade. Going into year number 2, Trey Pipkins going into year number 3, and Rashawn Slater going into year number one. He is a rookie. Mr. Slater coming from Northwestern. So definitely another player to watch this year. Um, Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, and you got Eric Banks going into it should be year number two. Christian Covington, who had 39 tackles in 2020. I believe he played with the Bengals last year. Justin Jones had 34 tackles last year, stepping in to get number four. Linval Joseph, a former Minnesota Viking, going to year number 12. He had 62 tackles and 12 pressures last year. Forrest Merrill, who's a rookie. Jerry Tillery had 3 sacks, 30 tackles, going to year number three. So that is your defensive line. As far as linebackers, Kyler Fackrell, who was with the Giants a year ago, played 12 games. He started 9. He had 4 sacks, 34 tackles, stepping into year number 6. Kenneth Murray, who was a rookie last year out of Oklahoma, led the team as a rookie, led the team with 107 tackles, and he's only going to get better and better every year. I remember I wanted my team to get him because we needed a linebacker, and we still do. But the Chargers definitely nailed it with this one. 107 tackles as a rookie, you cannot go wrong with that, and it only gets better as long as he stays healthy. Nick Neiman, who's a rookie, Uchenna Nwosu, 4.5 sacks for the boy, 17 pressures, 33 tackles, and 14 blitzes last year. Chris Rump going into his rookie year. Drew Tranquil, 75 tackles in 2019. He only played one game last year. Kazir White, 77 tackles last year. And Joey Bosa, 47.5 sacks through his, year number 5. So 47.5 sacks for Joey Bosa. 2016, he had 10.5 sacks. And that's the year that he kind of came on the scene a little late. He played 12 games. He started 11. In 2017, he had 12.5 sacks. He played all 16 games. In 2018, he played 7 games. He started 6, and they put him at 5.5. In 2019, he had 11.5 sacks, and he played all 16 games. And last year, he played 12 games. He started 10, and that put him at 7.5 sacks on the season. So we were looking for a bigger year for Joey Bosa this year. And another kid named, apologize if I blank on your name, Amin Ogbon Bamiglia. He's out of Oklahoma State. He had 100 tackles as a junior, and he had 9 career sacks in college. So he's another one that you know, you add that depth in that locker and add the depth in there in that linebacker room. They're kind of loaded. So we'll see how that goes. At the cornerback spot, you got Tavon Campbell stepping in the year number 2. Mike Davis, who played 14 games. He started 3 last year, 14 pass deflects, 64 tackles. He was targeted 104 times, completed against 63 times with a 60 completion percentage. He's stepping up as one of those nice little cornerbacks. Kamon Hall, Chris Harris, who was limited last year. He played 9 games. He started 9. He only had 37 tackles. Going into year number 11 this year. Asante Samuel Jr., who is definitely somebody to look at. He's a rookie. His father played in the league. Ryan Smith comes over from Tampa Bay, going to year number 6 as a nice little depth piece. At the safety position, Trey Marshall going to year number 3. Nasir Adderley, who had 69 tackles last year. He played 15 games. He started 14, going to year number 3. Alohi Gilman going to year number 2. He played 13 games. He started 1. So we'll see how he does. And then Mark Webb, who's a rookie. And then you got Derwin James coming back. And these are one of my favorite players to watch, stepping into year number 4 out of Florida State. He had 105 tackles in 2018, 3 interceptions, played 16 of 16 games. In 2020, he played no games, and he played 5 games in 2019. So a big injury history for Derwin James. and hopefully it gets better for him. I hope that he stays around at least all 16 games, 17 games this year. I like to see him play, but it's a bummer seeing him not on the field and injured. So we'll see what happens with that. Special teams, you got Tristan Vizcaino, a new kicker. So Michael Bagley is out. Ty Long at the punter spot going into year number 3. And so defensively, I forgot to even mention defensively. Defensively, this team was ranked 9th at giving up 3,578 yards. In the run game, they were ranked 18th, giving up 1,917 yards. So top 10 in middle of the pack is not bad. But we know with the handful of injuries that they had, the fact that you can't close out games, the whole game plan was all screwed up. So defensively on third downs, they were ranked 22nd. On fourth downs, they were ranked 27th. And in the red zone, they were ranked 10th. So having a top 10 red zone defense definitely helps them out. And I definitely see them continuing that trend this year. For the first 5 games for this team, they're at Washington football team this Sunday. They play Dallas at home. Then they're at Kansas City. Then they play the Raiders, and then they play the Browns. So 2 division games. It's not pretty for it early in the season, but at least you get one of those games knocked out with your division opponents. You get, especially against the Raiders and against the Chiefs, you get one of those games knocked out. Just so happened with the Chiefs, you had to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead the first game, and then you get to play the Raiders at home. Washington football team should be a very tough out. You had to go to them on the first game, and who knows how these teams play on the first game of the season. But then you play the Cowboys, who kind of the Cowboys should be better. They're a little not beat up, but their line situation with one of the centers he's currently out right now. I think it's a center, either the guard, but he's out right now due to the COVID. But he should be back for that game though. And then you got the Raiders and you got the Browns. So that's a very tough matchup. First 5 games for this team. I do believe that this team can be a playoff team as long as they can know how to finish games, execute well defensively, and offensively keep the same game plan they had last year with less turnovers and more of a positive plan other than just turning the ball over and letting the other team come back and winning that game. But I do see this team being a playoff team, especially with the addition with Derwin James coming back. Defense is going to be crazy. This is Larry Patterson coming to you for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports, live here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's Game Time Sports Network. Go ahead and hit that sub button. And on Facebook, Game Time Sports Network. Hit the like button. Until then,